How's it going, everybody? Nerds Rising here, and welcome back to the Nerd Cave. In today's video, I have for you guys some viewer-submitted battles featuring a level 50 Melmetal, a hundo level 50 Mamoswine, and a level 50 Garchomp. So a very thick team, and one that there is absolutely no way I will have in probably 5 years. Because, first of all, in order to get a level 50 Melmetal, you have to basically have the Switch or know someone that does for those Meltan boxes. And the only person I knew that had a Switch was my good friend Nathan, the man who submitted these battles to me. But then the man sells his Switch after he makes the Melmetal. So yeah, there's not going to be any chance of me getting this team for a very long time. Unless one of you guys wants to trade me a level 50 Melmetal. Just saying, let me know. But anyway, thank you to Nathan, RealTrackStar, for sending me these battles, and I'm really excited to see them in action because, again, I'm not really someone that plays the Master League very often, and I definitely do not have anything to start playing it in the near future, so we'll get into these battles. And real quick, the team comp there functions somewhat as an ABB-style team. He does have a double ground backline, but the Mamoswine and Garchomp have very different coverages, so in some ways it's not an ABB-style team. As you see, he is ABA weak to fighting, being that Melmetal and Mamoswine are both going to be taken super effective from things like counter. But not really too many counter users out there in the Open Master League because things like the Alga, Garchomp, the Giratinas, the Togekises, they just get super thick, and fighters are not that thick. So fighters really get smacked in the Open Master League, so I doubt we'll be seeing any. But we'll have to see how he plays this team. I'm very, very excited to get into this. So that being said, let's see what RealTrackStar can do in the Open Master League. Alright, getting into the first battle here, we are leading Melmetal into a Metagross. So pretty neutral lead across the board. He does have to be careful of a potential Earthquake here, so we'll have to see what he decides to do. Looks like he's going to overfarm slightly, and he goes for the superpower here after 7 Thundershock. So I would imagine the opponent probably doesn't shield this, but we'll have to see. And they actually do, so this is very nice. And now he's going to dip out into his Garchomp. So I like this play. Doesn't want to take a move after he debuffs himself. And this will just be a Meteor Mash. But it's still probably going to do a decent amount of damage. And it does do slightly over half. But the nice thing here is he's going to force the opponent to switch out. And the opponent brings in a Zarude here. So kind of unfortunate that he's running the double ground moveset here. It would be nice if he had Outrage. But as you see, actually, the Earth Power and the Dragon Tails really add up. This thing is actually in the yellow health now, and he's going to be forced to throw some energy to take the Garchomp out. So, nice play there. And he's going to bring in the Melmetal. I actually like this play a lot. I was thinking initially to bring in the Mamoswine and Powder Snow down, but he would have to take a super effective Power Whip or shield it. So he actually brings in the Melmetal, and he actually just KOs the Zarude before he even gets to a move. So very nice play there. Again, I think the opponent would have gotten to a Power Whip if he comes in with a Mamoswine. So we'll have to see what they bring in, and the opponent's going to bring in a Kyogre. So very nice to see this here. The opponent obviously doesn't know he has a Mamoswine in the back, but his Mamoswine definitely does not want to see this. So nice to see it here. We'll have to see what he decides to do. Looks like he's probably just going to stay in, shield, and play this out, which I think is the right call. Doesn't want his Mamoswine to be aligned to this in the endgame. And just going to very drastically outpace the Kyogre here. So, as you see, he did shield that Surf. The opponent may actually have to respect this with the shield, and they do. So, it wouldn't have KO'd, but it would have gotten the Kyogre quite low. And the opponent actually makes a very nice play here and brings back in the Metagross and has some energy. So, going to force him to burn his last shield. And now this is a little bit tricky. Yeah, he's going to chip the Metagross here. And I don't think that his Mamoswine is going to make it to the high horsepower. Just has to hope that he can outpace the opponent to an Avalanche. I do think this is just about Avalanche range. And it's actually a CMP tie. So I'm assuming in the level 50 Master League, Mamoswine must win CMP. I know in the 40s, the Metagross actually wins CMP. But it looks like in the 50s, Mamo wins CMP. And it looks like that's going to be the difference in this game. The Kyogre does come back in. He's going to take the Mamoswine out with the Surf, but I think that he's done enough chip damage here that this thing is just about in one move range. Probably Superpower does do a slight bit more damage, but I think that this Rock Slide should still do the job, and he does get the KO there. So very close game. honestly, Mamoswine winning CMP there was absolutely clutch. So next battle, he has a Kyogre lead. And again, his backline doesn't love Kyogre, so this is a very nice place to see the Kyogre. And unfortunately, he does throw on a little bit bad timing there. Could have done one more Thunder Shock, but he allows a full Waterfall to sneak through. But the opponent actually shields the Rock Slide, so that's very nice. And he's over farming here and actually gonna let the Surf go. We'll have to see what the opponent decides to do after this. It looks like, again, could have thrown one more Thunder Shock there and then thrown the Rock Slide, but that's okay. And the opponent does not shield, so... But the opponent actually tries to go for the farm down, and that allows him to get to another Rock Slide. I was going to say the opponent doesn't shield, but they could have outpaced there, but they actually elected to go for the farm down, and they actually double shielded their Kyogre. So even though now his backline is going to have to see this, he now has a 2-0 shield advantage, which is very nice. And he's actually not going to respect a potential Blizzard, calls the Surf, and it is a Surf, so a massive call. And the opponent is getting to another Surf here, and he's actually going to let that go as well. What a crazy read here. Because now he actually farms down, takes 2 Surfs, and he has a ton of energy on the Garchomp, but unfortunately the opponent brings in a Togekiss there, and he was not able to switch out fast enough, and he loses a ton of energy on the Garchomp. So a bit unfortunate there. And now he just has to hope that his Mamoswine can sweep in the end game with a 2-0 shield advantage. And the opponent did not switch out. They let their Togekiss get taken out, and it's a armored Mewtwo in the back. So we'll have to see. I think that this should be a GG. I think he has this game in the bag, because even though this thing does hit for pretty massive damage with those confusions, as you see, I don't think that the opponent's going to be able to farm down before he gets to another move. He is going to respect this move. Really, the opponent should have just committed to the farm down there, because by throwing a move, all they do is allow him to get extra energy. And yeah, I think this is a safe play. Just go for the high horsepower here. This should easily be KOing, and that is going to be a good game. So he pulls it off very nicely in the end game there. A little unorthodox with just absolutely calling all those Surfs and just committing 2 shields to the Mamoswine. But it worked out very nicely for him in the end, and very well played. So in the next match, we have a Confusion Shadow Mewtwo. So very interesting that the opponent is running Confusion and not Psycho Cut. But it also appears that this Mewtwo is a level 40 Mewtwo. Only 46 CP. And this is a very nice situation for his Melmetal to be in. Gonna respect a potential Flamethrower here, and it is just a Side Strike, so a bit unfortunate there. But the nice thing is, since this is a level 40 Mewtwo, these Rock Slides will, basically 2 Rock Slides will KO, whereas a level 50, I believe, can tank 2 Rock Slides. So this can only be a Side Strike, but he is actually going to commit the last shield. It would definitely not KO. It would do quite a bit of damage, but as you see, the confusions do add up. He's already below half health just from the confusion damage. But again, I think it probably would have been better there to save his shield, because now, yeah, now the opponent can let that go. And even though the opponent loses switch advantage, they now have shield advantage. So they bring in a Gyarados, but the thing here is the Gyarados can shield this Rock Slide and then probably outpace to an Aqua Tail. We'll have to see. And yeah, they are going to outpace to the Aqua Tail here. So this is going to be a bit tricky endgame, because his Garchomp is running the double ground moveset. So he kind of almost has to bring in the Mamoswine here. Or he could come in and commit to a farm down potentially, but he is going to bring in the Mamo. And he just has to hope that he can outpace. This is going to be very close. And actually, Mamoswine wins CMP again against the Gyarados. So absolutely clutch. I have to look this up. Mamoswine apparently has an extremely high attack stat, because that Gyarados was actually a higher CP there. It looks like he was going to... Oh my goodness. So we have to pause there. I normally don't like to pause, but... So I was a little caught up in the commentary there, but... So he very nicely wins CMP against the Gyarados, and then the opponent brings in a Dragonite, and I think he was actually going to outpace there. Actually, maybe not. Let me see that one more time. How many Dragon Tails was that? I have to double check this one more time, because he may make a mistake here. I have to see. That's 1, 2, 3 Dragon Tails, 4 Dragon Tails. So I don't think that actually was a mistake. It does look like the opponent would have outpaced him to that Dragon Claw. So he tries to catch there, knowing that his Mamoswine is actually going to lose CMP against the Dragonite. So nice recognition there. I was going to say, I think he could have gotten to the Avalanche, but it does look like he would have lost CMP. But now this is going to be very tricky, because unfortunately, I'm not sure that the Sand Tomb is going to KO. I think that he may just barely get farmed down here. And I think, unfortunately, on just like one, I think the Dragonite there survives on 1 HP, maybe 2 HP, and comes out with a Dragon Claw loaded. So very, very close endgame. I thought he was going to pull that one off, but ended up not, just at the very last minute. So unfortunate loss there, but very well played in the end. And he has a very nice lead there in Togekiss. But unfortunately, the opponent safe switches into a Kyogre, and he doesn't have the best answer to Kyogre. So it looks like he's going to stay in and chip this thing first. And honestly, he could probably just stay in here and just align the Mamoswine onto the Togekiss later on. So going to stay in. He's actually going to let this Surf go, and he can tank it. But what this does is it allows the opponent now to take back switch advantage if they want to. Because if they want to, they can shield these Rock Slides and then farm down with Waterfall. And it looks like that might be what the opponent's going to do. He does shield the Rock Slide there, and he does wisely throw the Surf just before RealTrackStar here gets to his next Rock Slide. So now he's forced to shield this Rock Slide in order, or this Surf in order to get his Rock Slide off. Again, could have thrown one more Thunder Shock and then the Rock Slide, but that's okay. Maybe we'll actually force the last shield here. And yeah, he does force the last shield. I don't think that Rock Slide quite would have KO'd, but he now, even though he doesn't have switch advantage, he now has a shield advantage. So he knows the Togekiss is lurking in back. So since he's lost switch here, he just has to hope that his Mamoswine can clean up the back line. So gonna come in with the Garchomp. I like this play. Farms down, knowing it's gonna be aligned to that Togekiss in the end. And then it looks like he might actually bank an Earth Power here and then bring in the Mamo. So he has the Earth Power banked. And the opponent did take a while to switch out. And I see why. Because they have a Tyranitar in the back. And even though this Tyranitar is level 50, it certainly does not want to take a high horsepower from the Mamo. Does massive damage, 90% of its health. And now he can easily farm down here. And he's one Powder Snow away from the Avalanche. And that's going to be a good game. I think this will probably be one-shotting the Togekiss. So very nice play there. Even though he ended up losing switch advantage in that Kyogre matchup, he was able to give himself a shield advantage, which allowed his Mamoswine to sweep in the back. So very nicely played there. And getting into the next battle, we have Melmetal on the lead into a shiny Hydreigon. So very cool here. We'll have to see what he decides to do. Looks like he farms up, and he's going to throw the superpower right away. And we'll have to see if the opponent decides to respect the super effective damage. And they actually don't. They let that go. And he's going to safe switch into the Mamo here, which I really like. His backline doesn't have a terrible matchup here. But the opponent is actually farming up quite a bit here before they're throwing. Are they going to have a big move here? And they actually have Flash Cannon. And Flash Cannon one-shots his Mamoswine. And even though they nearly get farmed down, he now actually loses switch advantage here. So a little unfortunate. But the nice thing here is he actually brings in the Melmetal and is able to farm all the way down. So I was not expecting Flash Cannon there. I thought it was going to be a Brutal Swing, which he could have lived. But again, sometimes these opponents out here just running some crazy spice moves. So the opponent brings in their own Melmetal, and they do respect his first superpower with the shield, as that would do the most damage. And he's just going to get the second one off right away. Won't do quite as much damage, so the opponent probably will not respect it, and they don't. And he makes a beautiful play here. He recognizes that the opponent was just getting to their move, and they probably were going to want to throw right away since he was double debuffed, and he makes a glorious catch onto his Garchomp. So very, very nicely done there. And the opponent responds to his Garchomp with a Waterfall Gyarados. So this is actually not terrible, even though he is running the double ground moveset, which is going to be double resisted. The Dragon Tails and Sand Tombs just really chunk. This Gyarados is now below half health just from resisted Sand Tombs and Dragon Tails, and Aqua Tail doesn't KO, so he's actually going to get to another Sand Tomb, and he's probably going to get to even one more Dragon Tail after the Sand Tomb lands, and that's going to get the Gyarados extremely low, and he gets it into the red health, so very impressive. That's just the pure bulk of level 50 Garchomp against level 50 Gyarados. Just massively outbulks it with that huge CP difference, so very nice play here. Comes in with a Melmetal, recognizing he can tank the Aqua Tail, and farms all the way down. And now he has a shield advantage, and since he caught that move, the opponent does not have a lot of extra energy. So I think this is actually GG here. He does get to the superpower here. The opponent respects it, but he now has a 2-0 shield advantage. So even if he gets baited here, he can safely just double shield, get to the back-to-back superpowers, and he's going to win this match. So Looks like he does farm up. I'm not sure if that's quite the back-to-back. Maybe one short of the back-to-back here, but again, probably just going to be a bait from by the opponent, and it is. But the opponent is now energy dry, and he can just safely back-to-back superpower here, and very well played by RealTrackStar here. The Melmetal matchup is always very tricky, you know, deciding who's going to bait, who's going to debuff themselves first, but I think he played that very nicely and made a very, very nice catch as well. So, good game there to the opponent. And we're moving on into the next battle here. And, again, sorry guys, literally the allergies and my throat's just dry. It's just literally the same thing every dang video. And actually, I think this, yeah, this is actually, excuse me, this is actually the same battle again. I accidentally added a repeat on here, so we're going to just fast forward through this. This was the Shadow Mewtwo battle from earlier. So we'll skip past that one. Not going to make him relive that terrible, like 1 HP loss against the Dragonite in the end game. So we'll skip through this. And yeah, getting into the next battle here. So next battle, I believe we had like 2 or 3 more. He has a Melmetal mirror match. So again, pretty tricky. It's just going to depend on who baits and who wants to debuff themselves first. So probably going to overfarm a lot here. And he is overfarming quite a bit. Overfarms to just 1 before 100 energy. And actually going to bait with a Rock Slide. And since he's getting his move off first, is he going to threaten a shield? And the opponent falls for the bait and he gets the shield there. So very, very nice. And now he's going to call a bait himself. And the opponent does bait. So what an absolutely crazy read there. And now going to let this go again, it looks like. Even if this is a superpower, he should survive it. And it is a superpower, but he does survive. And now that the opponent's debuffed, his superpowers will do quite a bit more damage. Does the opponent want to go down 2 shields right off the bat? And they don't. And he's got the move, and now he's actually going to bait again. This is a very risky play, but we'll have to see if it pays off. And he actually gets the bait again. And the opponent has fallen for 2 Rock Slide baits, and he landed a superpower. And now he can just safely shield this. It is a bait, unfortunately, but at this point, he's going to outpace. He outpaces the opponent to the superpower. And now what he's done is he's given himself shield advantage and switch advantage. So very, very well played. He played that Melmetal mirror, honestly, about as good as he could have. And here, I actually like, he tries to get to the Rock Slide there. He doesn't quite get there. But since he doesn't switch out, he can now align his Mamoswine onto the Dragonite. So nice play there. I liked him not giving up switch there because he still has that flexibility to switch out later on if he needs to. We'll respect the superpower here. And the opponent's actually running Outrage. What an absolute mad lad. Again, we're seeing some spicy movesets from the opponent. Some Flash Cannons and some Outrages. And he is just going to take out the Dragonite. And you'll notice the opponent did not switch out there. And they have a Togekiss in the back. So I see why they did not switch out. Their back line was absolutely core broken by Mamoswine. After their Melmetal went down, they had no answer to his Mamoswine. So, well played there. And actually, this may be the last battle. Since I put that repeating there of that Shadow Mewtwo, I think this is the last battle. And it's a Ho-Oh lead. So, he does actually throw his Rock Slide right away. And that allows an Incinerate to sneak through. So, a little bit unfortunate there. But he should still be okay, because Rock Slide does a ton of damage, and Melmetal does outpace the Ho-Oh quite a bit. So, does correctly shield the Sacred Fire there. And now actually may threaten the second shield from the opponent here. This Rock Slide will not quite KO, but it would do massive damage, and the opponent does actually give up the second shield. And they actually do switch out before he gets to another superpower. So, he banks the Rock Slide there. I like that play. And then the opponent brings in their own Garchomp, but this one's actually running Mud Shot, so not too terrible. He should be able to take this thing out. He does respect an Outrage, and the opponent actually goes for an Earth Power bait there. And he's not going to take any chances. He's just going to go straight for the Earth Power here. And we'll have to see what the opponent decides to bring in. I doubt that they're going to bring in that Ho-Oh. And we'll have to see what they have in the back. They actually bring in a Hydreigon. And this is actually going to be a little tricky, because his Switch Clock is not quite up. He does get to the Sand Tomb, but it's going to be very close to see whether he's going to be able to farm down before they farm him down. And it's looking like the Dragon Breath just outpaced, so this is a bit tricky now. He kind of needs that Rock Slide to KO the Ho-Oh. So yeah, I think maybe he should have come in with a Mamoswine there, because that Ho-Oh does actually have a little bit of residual energy since the Ho-Oh snuck through an Incinerate, and he's actually going to throw the Rock Slide here. So I think there he needed to switch into his Mamoswine and save that Rock Slide, take out the Hydreigon with the Mamoswine, which would then force the opponent to throw. But now, as you see, the Ho actually outpaces the Mamoswine there. And this Sacred Fire is easily going to be taking out the Mamoswine, and I'm not sure that he gets to another Rock Slide. And yeah, since he threw the Rock Slide there on the Hydreigon, he was not able to get to another Rock Slide on the Melmetal. So this was just a repeat of the first battle. So very good game to the opponent there. And honestly, I think we can probably learn something from these battles. Even though they're played in the lower ace range, I truly think that we can learn something from just about every ELO range. So again, that actually was the last battle. This, let me just make sure. Yeah, this is just the first battle repeating again. So very well played to RealTrackStar though. He had some very nice plays, very nice Melmetal mirrors there, some nice nukes. And even though he didn't play everything perfectly, again, we can definitely learn something from every battle, because honestly, I make a ton of mistakes. I just don't show you guys all my losses, because unless you want to go back and watch my Ultra League video where I get destroyed, really, you don't want to come back every week and watch me get absolutely slaughtered, because that's no fun to watch. So that being said, thank you again to Nathan, and thank you all for watching. And remember, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so, because the more subscribers we can get, the more Pokemon my wife will let me play.